All right. So we are now recording. Today's Wednesday webinar day, and we are going to talk about how to stage your home to increase online buyer interest and maximize the value of your house. Now, we all know it's a seller's market, but it's really, really important for you to prepare your home for sale to maximize your sales price. Just to introduce you to myself and everyone that's here, my name is Laurie Williamson. I'm team leader for Homes North of Boston here at Keller Williams in Lexington. We cover Lexington and the surrounding towns, so homes north and northwest of Boston. We have Liz Muldrow. She's a buyer agent on our team. She is also a co-host. Well, she is a co-host. And Melissa Brown, she's our transaction coordinator, and she does a ton of marketing for our team. She's here as a co-host. And then we have a special guest, Christina. How do I pronounce your last name? You're muted, sorry. Christina, can you introduce yourself to our attendees here?
Hi, so I'm Christina Katos, number 29 Design, and I have a home staging business, design, the warehouse and everything that comes with it. I've been doing this for a couple of years. I started as a graphic designer and started doing my own home projects. I had a blog for a while, so I kind of got into it very slowly. And then I was writing for Houzz and Wayfair and companies like that. And then I just wanted to get on the other side of the camera and be actually doing it. So I just started staging for friends and friends and friends, and it just grew and grew and grew. So now I've got, you know, I do consults, I do mostly vacant staging, all over the place. So it's kind of helps to have everything. I have my own inventory, so that kind of helps keep my costs down. And you know, I help with like pre-market and post.
Yeah, that's excellent. We love your logo, by the way. That was the first thing. As we were trying to find a stager, that was one of the first things that attracted us to you, was your website. It's so beautiful. So, all right, so here we are, how to stage your home to increase buyer interest. So here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to first talk about what's going on in the market today, because everyone knows that it's a seller market, but we're going to talk about the data, and so that you can visualize it. We actually have a really cool graph. We want you to ask questions. So like, you came to this webinar, you're hoping to learn something. What are your concerns in getting ready to sell your home? We'll talk about, you know, the benefits of staging, right? That's really important. We'll talk about the benefits of a home office. I know everyone's selling their house to try to buy a new house that has room for a home office. But what we've been trying to do is create that space for you, so that a buyer looking at your home will see that there is some designated space for a home office. We'll talk about some easy projects you can do on your own. We'll talk a little bit about curb appeal, because not everybody totally understands what it is. We have a couple funny stories about that. And then any questions at the end. So that's what we're going to do. So let's talk about what's going on in the market. So I'm going to really quickly go over this, because a lot of people get bored by data. But this represents homes listed every single week. So these are every single week during the year, new homes coming on the market. And we've been tracking it since 2017. And you'll see that there's a seasonality to real estate, right? There's a fall market, there's a spring market. And every year, we're pretty much in that same level. In 2020, however, we are actually doing really well. We had much more listings on the market than we had in previous years, which was fabulous. Except then we went into quarantine, which is this pink box here. And you'll see, once we were all in quarantine, the number of new houses coming on the market each week while we were in quarantine plummeted. So it created this huge deficit of listings. So we're in a seller's market. Now we're in a bigger seller's market, right? Because there's just not enough inventory. And because interest rates are so low, there are more buyers in the market. So we are desperately looking for listings. You'll see that once we came out of quarantine, We started to mimic previous years, which shows that we're in a balanced market right now, or a stable market, which is fabulous. What we're hoping is the number of listings that we have an uptick so that we can make up for lost time. But in the meantime, we thought it would be great to have this webinar to talk to you about, well, one, you're really going to sell at a premium if you sell now, okay? But secondly, how do you get your house ready so that you can do that? All right, so Christina, tell us why we need to stage.
Well, the most important thing is that right now, your first impression, the buyer's first impression is online. So everything they're looking at, it's the pictures, it's the descriptions, everything that they see, you know, and they're going to make a decision really quickly. If they don't like how it looks, if it's cluttered, if it's dark or depressing, they're just going to go to the next one. So it's really the first impression. That's the most important thing, the photographs. I think it's just this day and age right now that we're dealing with.
Right.
Then it kind of flows from there, depending on if they come, you know, to your front door. Then it's size of the room, what fits, the flow of the furniture, what room can be what. You know, some people have no idea what to do. They walk into an empty room and they just get very, very anxious about it. So if you kind of lay it all out, it just makes it a much easier visit for them, and they can see themselves living there. That's your whole goal, is to put them in that home.
So now, since we've been in the pandemic, I know things changed for us, and it changed for you too at the beginning of quarantine, because you were not staging, for example, you weren't staging homes that were occupied, right? Which made sense. And we weren't going into homes that were occupied either. Are you staging in person now, or are you, how is that working out for you?
I am.
At this
I mean, one
point
thing
in the game.
yeah, I am staging in person. Consults have moved online because it's just easier now. So that's kind of
Absolutely.
been nice.
Yeah.
Instead of me coming to the house and spending the time there, we're just doing it through FaceTime or whatever. So it's kind of made things easier, but I think everyone's realized that with meetings and things. But yeah,
Right.
staging is in person. I do vacant, I do occupied, everything.
That's excellent.
It's kind of back to business.
Yep, that's excellent. And then if somebody isn't comfortable having your staging things in their home, would you advise them, like, room to room, like where they need to put things, you know, maybe move a picture, move furniture so that they can repurpose their own things?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I'll come in and do a consult, and if you're not getting staging, it's just a consult. So,
Yep.
you know, I'll go through the house with you. I'll go through room to room, and I will send you. You don't have to write anything down. You don't have to take any pictures. I'll send you a report. Usually it's about, you know, 3 to 4 pages, room by room, of what you should be doing. So it's declutter this, move that, get the chair out, you know, put white bedding, get some white towels, just a to-do list, basically. And that's, you know, for any buyer.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. So let's take a look at some of these photos, because I think the photos speak 1,000 words, right? So Liz, let's talk about this room. This was a listing in Stoneham. We both had buyers interested in this property. It was a tiny home, but they had done a pretty good job getting it ready for sale. Talk about what happened with your buyers when they first came in. This is, by the way, the front door is over here. We'll show you a different perspective once she talks a little bit about this.
Yeah, so for me, when we did a showing at this particular house, the first thing that was really distracting to my buyers were the family portraits that you can see on the wall. There's a ton of pictures, and as we were walking room to room, they were just drawn to the pictures because they were really pretty pictures, but it's just not what you want the buyers to be focusing on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I remember when I brought my buyers in, there were a lot of people in there at that point. And actually, I think this was like right before we went into quarantine. There were definitely people, like open house people in there. And I kept walking around saying, oh my gosh, this room is huge, right? But it actually really wasn't. And I think just because they've moved a lot of furniture, they added a mirror, I think they did overall a really great job. This is the front door I was talking about. So you walk in here and you have all this space here. Christina, do you, so this room, obviously, it was sort of like an optical illusion because you thought that the room was bigger because they had removed some of the furniture. Do you use that technique? And do you think it works?
Absolutely. I kind of sometimes try to think of where the camera's going to be, so where the
Yep.
photographer's going to take the picture from, and kind of base the room around that. So a lot of times it's from a doorway, from the front door, and you just try to create like an open path, just for flow of the furniture of the house, the layout. You know, where's the TV going to be? Where's the sofa? Where's the fireplace? Just make it logical.
Yep, that's awesome. Here's
I got a
another
quick
example.
question, Lori.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes. So Brian's wondering if it's okay to store the excess furniture in the garage to make his living room look bigger, but he doesn't want the garage to look cluttered. So he's not sure what to do with his extra furniture.
So that's a really great question that I know Christina has answers to as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you wanna answer that question?
Well, yeah, there's a couple scenarios. If you've already bought a house, you move it to the new house. A lot of people get temporary storage just to kind of filter things out, because you don't want to take things from one room and clutter up the other room. You want them to see the garage is not your storage, and that there is enough space in the house for their stuff. If you start putting too many things in one room, they start worrying that there's not enough for them to live. So I would, invest maybe in temporary storage, a pod at a parent's house, and something, there's a lot of different scenarios that you can go through.
Yeah, one of the, just on that topic, I had some buyers that we went to a house one time and the garage was filled with their excess things, furniture and personal belongings. And what was interesting is I was like, oh, that's no big deal. It's a garage, right? But the buyer's reaction to it was they felt like the car wasn't going to fit in because it made the garage look so small. So we ended up ultimately going back with, for a second showing with a measuring tape to make sure their car could fit. So those things you really have to be mindful of. So this was another room, really, really, really small room, bedroom, but they gave it the illusion that it was a little bit bigger than it really was. These mirrors sort of reflected more light into the room, which was nice. Another example here, how Christina, you were talking about the flow and where the camera would be and things like that. These chairs actually used to be here. So if you walked into this room and the chairs were in your way, it would make the room feel smaller. So this just sort of opened up the space. Here is an example of a project that Christina did to us. She didn't do it to us, she actually did it. But Melissa, you want to talk about how our initial reaction, this over here on the right-hand side, this was the house. And when we walked in for initial consultation, we're like, okay, these are
it was
interesting
very
colors.
dark. It was very, it was actually a really bright, sunny December day. And when we walked in, it felt like it was just like a dungeon. It was so dark, and the colors, were very interesting. The blinds were covering all the windows. You can see the heavy drapes there. It just made it feel very small, closed in, not very welcoming, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, and this was the final project here on the left that Christina did. And do you want to talk just a few minutes, just a couple comments about that?
Yeah, this was a tricky room too, because there are actually 4 doorways coming in and out of this room. There was the front door, dining room, like a family room, and the stairway. So you really had to think for the buyer in this place. Paint does wonders. I mean, you can see for yourselves. It's just, it kind of renews it and refreshes it. And then just kind of light scaled furniture. And this is just put, when you're staging, you're not designing. You're staging it for the house and for the architecture and for the floor plan. So that's hard too for people sometimes to get in their heads that like it's not interior decorating.
Right.
But this came out, this looked much better.
And then the other room that was here, that was connecting to that living room, was this family room that Christina staged. And what a dramatic difference, in my opinion. It was just unbelievable. White paint is amazing, you
Yeah.
know? So, and then just like you didn't even put a lot of things in the shelves at all, but the colors of the things that you put in there, I think attracted your eye to the shelving, which I
Yeah.
thought was neat. So this room was a favorite when we did the
Yeah.
open house. People loved this room.
Well, and it made sense.
Yeah, it totally
So
does.
some people might not have known what to do with that room.
Right. Exactly. And the other thing too that you did, which I thought was really interesting, is so your line of vision, right? It sort of drew your eye out of the room too. You strategically placed this table so that it just made the whole space feel bigger. I think do you remember there used to be a refrigerator there?
Yeah.
Right here we
Yeah.
moved. So
And people are afraid of that too with putting furniture down. That a lot of times it can actually make the space look bigger when
Right.
it's logically placed.
right. So talk to us about this.
So this was, okay, this was interesting little, I mean, obviously we're looking for offices in any way possible. So this was like a little nook. It was great. It had a window off to the right side that you can't see. So it wasn't like a closet. It actually was like a tiny, tiny little room. So I just kind of made an extra office. You know, I'm putting desks in every single room I can possibly put at this point.
Yeah.
And you know, the curtains came down, the paint colors are refreshed. It's all one color. You know, you kind of just put lighter scaled furniture, which actually helps, like the glass tabletop instead of the heavy dark wooden pieces.
Right.
And you just kind of let it be kind of light and airy with, you know, enough furniture that it makes sense.
Right. Here's another one.
Yes. This was a bowling alley. This was, oh my gosh. Yeah. So all the furniture left. This was the kind of house where I kept some things and didn't keep some things. So like I used their master bedroom bed. You know, I used a table somewhere. I'll rearrange stuff if I need to. And then I have my movers just take this things out. The garage was big enough. There was actually a three-car garage, which was great. So they used one bay for storage. And then just kind of, you know, there was paint done and the floors were refinished, which was great too. But not much else was done cosmetically. It was just furniture and artwork.
Yeah, so the artwork I was going to say, what I
Artwork
thought was really neat. Yeah, but so by taking it off of this, so it's vacant here, right? But you've got them on either side. To me, it makes it feel bigger.
Yes, yeah.
So
yeah, artwork is like the icing. I love that part.
Yeah. Do you have a
And I'll
lot
ask
of artwork?
people. I do. Oh my gosh, I do. And I'll ask people, some people don't want holes in the walls. So I just had a client that did not want holes in the walls. So I will lean as much as I can, but I think artwork just makes the room. That's like the last thing that I put in place. And it's just, it's great.
That's great. This I thought was awesome too.
Yeah. I hate fuse boxes. I absolutely hate them. So if I can cover them up, I will. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it just ruins the picture. Like it just makes no sense.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. So here are some examples of some home offices that we've had in some of our listings. This actually was a closet. It was like a little teeny tiny room that they converted to a closet. And I think maybe at one time it was probably a nursery, but we converted it back to an office. And when I say tiny, this place was teeny. And I thought it worked really, really well. Here's another example. This is a listing in Arlington. It was a two-family, up and down, but it was condos. And this was the front porch that was enclosed. This is not a desk here. This is just a random table with a tablecloth over it, which made it look really pretty. So, and I know, like, I was actually watching the news today, there's a desk shortage, right? But you don't necessarily need a desk. You just need a space that's at the right height that you can pull your chair up to. So I think we really accomplished that here. And this is my favorite. This is a closet. literally, we took the doors down, got some Home Depot cabinets, put it up there, and I thought that worked really well. These ghost chairs, do you use these, Christina, the ghost chairs?
I've used them a couple times, but they actually don't photograph that great all the time. Depends on the
Yeah.
room. If the room is bright enough, it comes out well. But if it's a dark room, you can't see it. So
Right. Yeah. Let's see. Just another
another
example.
option.
Yep.
Another option for desks is console tables. So if you can't find a desk or you have a console table lying around, even if you put a chair in front of it, it can pass as a desk.
Yeah, that's a good point. Lizzie and I we've started doing a contest, like every time we go to a showing, we take a picture of what they've staged as a desk, which has been kind of fun. We've been posting it on social media. Melissa, you want to talk about curb appeal?
Sure. So you can tell from both these houses, they have great curb appeal. Both of their front doors have been painted, which is an easy do-it-yourself project. They both have nice trimmed bushes. Well, the one on the left does. The one on the right, they've added some potted plants. Both have American flags. It was probably around 4th of July or some kind of holiday, so we recommended putting flags out. You can tell the one on the right, they've got some new numbers that looks great. It looks like there's a new welcome mat. That's very inviting. You just want to do some do-it-yourself projects that are inexpensive, but really draw in the buyer, because when they show up to the home, this is the first thing that they see. For the left, you'd probably want to add some like seed or fill in those patches on their grass, but otherwise, both of these homes have great curb appeal. The buyers, like I said, they're going to see that first impression when they walk up. And right now during the pandemic, they're spending a little bit more time outside of the house, since you have to limit the amount of people inside. So it's definitely worth spending a little extra time to do those do-it-yourself projects on the front of your home too.
Yeah, I agree. And I know Liz agrees with that as well. We've spent a lot of time outside in line in front of houses. So it's interesting. Liz, you can, if you want to talk about this, you can, about how like you used to just pull up, get out of the car and run inside, right? But now that's not the case and the perspective has totally changed.
Yeah, the other weekend, actually, we were waiting in line to get into an open house, and we actually decided to leave because it just wasn't the right fit just from the outside. But I think if it was freshly painted, they kept up with the landscaping, they would have given it a chance, but it just looked like it needed too much work from the outside, so we ended up just leaving.
Yeah, and people really do make that first impression when they get to the front door. Tell us your story about the windows.
Oh yeah, so another little project that I would highly recommend doing. I was in a condo, and the windows were new. They were 2019 replaced windows. But the buyer was like, this is a huge project. All the windows need to be replaced. They look like they're in terrible condition. And I told him, actually, they're new. They're just really dirty. So
Yeah, it's crazy. And I have to tell you, it happens to me all of the time. Just little things like that. Having your kitchen counters totally clear of just about everything. You know, sometimes changing some lighting fixtures will make a huge difference. So rather than a really dated dining room fixture, just go to Home Depot, right, Christina?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, things like that'll make a huge difference. Replacing doorknobs, I think makes a huge difference too. If you want to spend some money, that's above and beyond just staging, but that's projects that you can do that will help make your house look more attractive. Here is so this is a color palette that Christina uses. I use it personally in my house. Talk to us about like why these colors? I know that's a silly question, but
yeah, they're neutral. You want you kind of want the walls to disappear. You know, you want to show off the architecture of the home, but you don't want the red wall to stand out or the blue bathroom to stand out. So you just want a very neutral, you know, backdrop to your home. And you know, it's easy to do. It's, you know, you just, you know, it's, if you're doing the whole house, you can just pick 2 or 3 colors and kind of repeat it through the house.
Do we have any questions, Melissa? I keep forgetting to ask you.
We do have one, just came in about hardwood floors.
Okay.
He's just wondering what our recommendation would be. Should he have them refinished or just leave them as is before he lists his house?
What do you think, Christina?
If you can, if the house is vacant, I would definitely refinish them, especially if you've had, you know, water damage or you had pets, there's scratches on the floor. I would definitely, that makes a huge impression, because that's something that people are going to do anyways. And so when they walk in and it's done, they're kind of like, oh, that's great. You know, it's a huge sigh of relief.
I totally agree on that. We have, I will tell you from time to time, for example, this listing, I'm just going to switch back here. These floors were in pretty rough shape, but we just felt that it was a small enough space that once we staged it, and we did disclose that the floors probably would need to be refinished. You want to make sure you always disclose those things. You don't want to hide anything. It didn't bother anybody. I think they were more impressed by the fact that it was freshly painted on the inside and it just was really inviting. There was something that I was going to say that, oh, I know what it was, Christina. So you have like a list of vendors that your go-to people, right? I wanted to point out to people, and you can speak to this too. So when they work with our team, right, when we go in for initial consultation, we have folks that we work with, painters, contractors, things like that. So if you have things in your house that need to be fixed, or if you don't have the time or you don't want to paint, we actually can help you with that, and we can support you in that way. What type of people do you work with? I mean, painters, right? But who else
definitely.
would be your go-to?
I have junk people. So if you just need stuff trashed, they will come and get it. I have cleaners. I have painters. I have, you know, if you're doing more than just cosmetic work, if you're changing light fixtures, I have people that can do all of that. So the whole scale. So even
That's
photographers.
awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. It's almost like you're a wedding planner. I feel like when we get a listing and you come in, I'm always like, oh, thank God. So, but Christina, I just want to say thank you. I've really enjoyed having you here. We absolutely love working with you. I think you're incredibly talented. You've done such transformations for us. You make us look really good. And I just want to thank you for that. So do we have any other questions? And if we don't, we can just
Nope, I don't see any.
No more questions. All right. So if you know anyone that is interested in selling, or if you think you might want to consider selling, even if you're not in the state of Massachusetts, we can help you. We can refer an agent to you out in Arizona, anywhere really. And but we'd be delighted to help you. Christina or myself or anyone on my team would be happy to answer any questions that you have, staging related or buying or selling. So we encourage you to reach out to us and schedule a call. So thank you so much for coming. Next Wednesday is Webinar Wednesday again. What's on our schedule?
First-time home buyers.
Yes. So if you know a first-time home buyer, you send them to our Wednesday webinar and we will be happy to help them. So thank you again, and we will hopefully hear from you soon.